This is 3 Shots In.
When we decided, well, I say we, when you decided that the topic today would be fashion, I immediately thought of murder. I feel like you and I tend to do that.
Yeah.
Not always. This isn't necessarily a true crime podcast. We talk about a lot of things, but true crime, it's mentioned very often.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah. And it always will be.
Yeah, for sure.
And that brought me to Andrew Cunanan. Andrew Cunanan, the man who murdered Italian fashion designer Gianni Versace.
Versace, that's a big name.
Yes, still today. May he rest in peace.
How long ago was this?
This was...
When the...
give me a moment.
80s, 90s, 2000s?
It was 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't need an exact year. I was just curious. Anyway.
Well, I have one somewhere for you in my notes. It's going to be difficult for me to find it. So we'll get there. Andrew Cunanan was born August 31st, 1969. He was the youngest of 4 kids. His father was a Filipino American. His mother, a very religious Italian American, which makes me think Catholic.
Probably.
His father served in the Navy during Vietnam. After leaving the Navy, where he had served as a chief petty officer, Andrew's father worked as a stockbroker. In his youth, Andrew lived with his family in National City and attended Bonita Vista Middle School. So that's in California. In 1981, his father enrolled him in the Bishop's School, an independent day school located in the affluent La Jolla neighborhood of San Diego.
I've heard of La Jolla.
I have also. I have never heard of any independent schools there, but either way.
I'm not well versed.
Don't know really anything about what schools are there. But either way, at this school, he met his lifelong best friend, Elizabeth Coate. Apparently, as he was growing up and all through his school years, he was remembered as being very bright, a very talkative person. He tested really high in his IQ, I guess. As a teen, he developed a reputation for lying.
Oh.
Yes, so specifically about his family and his personal life. He was adept at changing his appearance according to what he felt was most attractive at a given moment. So he would kind of like get a read for what someone found to be very impressive and would try to emulate that, I guess.
So he's a grifter.
If that's what that means, I guess I don't know what that means.
Google it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Andrew had identified as gay in high school, and that is when he began having liaisons with wealthy older men.
Good for him. He had little sugar daddies.
He started pretty early, not necessarily.
Oh, you mean high school?
Not necessarily legally.
Oh, I thought you meant like college school.
That was the impression I got, that it began in high school. Anyway, in high school, he was voted least likely to be forgotten, and boy, was that true.
Oh, yeah.
So after graduating from high school in 1987, he enrolled at the University of California, San Diego. He majored in American history there. In 1988 is when his father deserted his family, moved back to the Philippines.
Oh.
I guess I don't know that he moved back there. I don't know that he lived there originally. But either way, he moved to the Philippines, left his family behind, and from what I could tell, ceased all contact with them in order to evade arrest for embezzlement.
Nice.
Right.
Those are my favorite stockbrokers.
The embezzling kind?
Yeah.
Andrew was 19 when this happened. And that was the same year that Andrew started frequenting local gay clubs and restaurants, basically being more outspoken about his being gay and stuff, making it not so hidden anymore if it was before. And his very religious mother, she didn't care for that.
Makes sense. Sucks, but makes sense.
Yeah, she was not supportive. During an argument with her, I guess Andrew threw her against a wall and dislocated her shoulder with the force.
Okay.
Later on, his behavior was described by, medical professionals as seeming that he suffered from antisocial personality disorder, which I guess means that he lacks remorse and empathy. So he's a sociopath.
I was like, this boy is going to be murderous.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. In 1989, Andrew dropped out of UC San Diego and decided to settle in the Castro district of San Francisco, which I guess is a gay sort of like oasis. I don't know. I don't know anything about that area.
I thought San Francisco was just like
San Francisco in total. I don't know. I guess the Castro district very specifically is. So he moved there and moved in with his best friend, his friend from grade school earlier, and her boyfriend, whose name was Phil. That doesn't matter, but it is here in my notes.
Sure. Don't forget Phil.
Can't forget him. Anyway, Andrew continued his practice of befriending very wealthy, much older men than him, and reportedly began to do work in violent pornography. Yes, that wasn't elaborated, but I think you
Violent pornography?
Specifically violent pornography, so I think you can use your imagination.
Like fucking rape fantasy shit?
Not sure. Sounds like it.
Fuck.
He had a lifestyle of living off of one wealthy man or another, just kind of making his way around, specifically in the Hillcrest and La Jolla neighborhoods of San Diego, as well as Scottsdale, Arizona. He was dealing drugs at this time. I guess that was just like a little side gig. And this included opioids, cocaine, marijuana, of course. And it's unclear when exactly this happened, but it is also likely that he dabbled in prostitution at this time.
Like he was a prostitute?
Yes, a toot.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it kind of sounds like that's what he was doing anyway.
Yeah, but I don't think prostitution and being making your way from sugar daddy to sugar daddy are exactly the same. Because like it is a relationship and it's exclusive. Prostitution, you're being paid for something very specific.
So if I...
Well, it's almost like saying, what's the difference between marriage and prostitution?
If I have sex with someone, right?
Yeah.
I ask them to come have sex with me and I give them $1,000. That's prostitution. But if I give them $1,000 worth of fucking products, is that still prostitution or is that my sugar baby now?
Well, I don't know. I just think I think
it's all the same.
I really don't think so. Because it's almost like, what's the difference between being in like a loveless marriage and prostitution? Like there are no feelings involved, but it's a trade. Like you just want security one way or the other. If you're a male, you want companionship.
So let's just make prostitution legal and get rid of all the blurred lines.
Sure. But either way, so it's likely he was doing all that stuff, for income at the time. And he used many different aliases as well. These included Andrew De Silva, Lieutenant Commander Andy Cummings. Yeah, that was one of them.
That's his porn name for sure.
Probably. There was also Drew Cunningham and Kurt Matthew Demaris. So in 1990, Versace was in San Francisco to be recognized for his costume design in the San Francisco Opera. I guess he was part of a production there at that time.
So he could sing too?
No, he designed the costumes for it.
Okay.
And it's alleged that this is when he and Andrew met. Now, in the first episode of the 2018 TV series, The Assassination of Gianni Versace, American Crime Story.
Yes.
Versace and Andrew meet in this like VIP area of a nightclub where Versace's kind of like annoyed with him, but eventually won over by his charm and by Andrew talking about his mom being raised in Italy. Later, he and Versace go on a date.
Okay.
At the San Francisco Opera, and they have kind of like an intimate conversation on stage after the show. It's not really, they don't really go into anything after that, so far as I was able to read. However, the show was based on the book Vulgar Favors, Andrew Cunanan, Gianni Versace, and the Largest Failed Manhunt in U.S. History by Vanity Fair writer Maureen Orth. So she reported extensively on Andrew's case after the assassination had happened. It's called assassination a lot. I would just call it a murder, honestly, and I think you'll agree with me when we get further into it.
Okay, I was like, holy shit, did I like blank on the murder?
No.
Okay.
No, it hasn't happened yet, okay. But people really don't know how they knew each other exactly. Because obviously he killed Versace. Obviously he knew where he lived because that's where he died. But how? It doesn't seem like anybody really knows. And in this book, this Vanity Fair writer says that on the night of October 21st, an eyewitness recalls Andrew was smugly pleased that Versace seemed to recognize him. "I know you," Versace said, wagging a finger in the then 21-year-old's direction. "Lago di Como, no?" seeming to refer to his home on Lake Como.
Okay.
And Andrew replied, "Thank you for remembering, Signor Versace." So other people basically are implying that they met each other a long time ago. Maybe at some kind of event or gathering or party or of some kind.
Or like a meetup
Maybe.
of the sexual nature.
No idea.
Okay.
But to this day, Versace's family denies that they ever even knew each other. Now, in December 1995, Andrew met someone named David Madsen. He was an architect in Minneapolis, and they developed this long-distance relationship. David ended up calling the relationship off in the spring of 1996, telling friends that there was something shady about Andrew. And he was probably right.
I mean, he's probably right on the money,
But
right?
we'll see.
Okay.
Anyway, Andrew told friends that David was the love of his life. So they were feeling very differently about the relationship when it ended.
Right.
At some point, Andrew had moved on to another exclusive sugar daddy by the name of Norman Blackford, who he'd been living with, and Norman had been financially supporting him. So after he called his relationship off with Norman, Andrew very soon found himself in a financial struggle.
Gotta find a new sugar daddy.
No more sugar daddy. Where's your money coming from? Type of thing. So,
Yeah.
according to a man named Jeff Trail, who was a former naval officer working as a district manager for a propane delivery company in Minneapolis, he was also a very close friend of Andrew's. Andrew decided to return to dealing drugs. Makes sense. I mean,
Sure.
You're in a bind and you've done it before.
There's always money in drugs.
Sure. By April 1997, friends reported that Andrew was abusing painkillers, drinking excessively. And later that month, April 97, he told friends he was leaving San Diego for Minneapolis to, quote, take care of some business matters with this man, Jeff, who had cut off all communication with him. Before Andrew's visit, Jeff told his sister that he did not want Andrew to come to Minneapolis. He said to his roommate that he and Andrew had had a huge falling out. He also said, "I made a lot of enemies this weekend. I've got to get out of here. They're going to kill me."
Whoa.
Right? April 24th. Andrew and 4 friends attend this going away party at, a place called California Cuisine in Hillcrest. Andrew did not cover the tab for everybody, which I guess was really rare because that's how much money he just had. He must have had some like elite sugar daddies on him.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Apparently, Andrew had 2 very high limit credit cards, but both of them had been maxed. So he had to apply for a credit extension in order to just afford the plane ticket to Minneapolis. When he got there, Andrew linked up with his old flame, David Madsen, the architect.
Mm-hmm.
And David was a mutual friend of his and Jeff's. So he and David went out for dinner that night. They hit the club and he ended up spending the night there at David's apartment.
Oh.
April 26th, Andrew goes over to Jeff's house where they have an argument before Jeff decides that he's going to go out of town with his boyfriend, John. They leave Andrew to stay the night there alone in Jeff's place. The following afternoon, Jeff and his boyfriend come back and he tells his boyfriend that he and Andrew needed to have a very important conversation. He's apparently very grim when he says this.
Okay.
I still have no idea what's going on, and this is never elaborated, by the way. When they return to the apartment, though, there is no sign of Andrew. All of his belongings are gone, and then they get a phone call, and it's from Andrew. Andrew says that he had gone back to David's place. He also lets Jeff know that he found his gun and stole it. I say stole. It at every article I said,
he
just
borrowed
said
it
that
indefinitely.
he took it. And then told Jeff if he wanted it back, he needed to go to David's place to pick it up.
And,
So
and pay off my credit
He
card.
definitely didn't ask beforehand. You know, it was basically like, hey, I've got your gun, and if you want it, you need to come get it type of thing. So whatever.
I mean, like weird,
Odd.
but okay.
Really sounds like something terrible is going to happen to Jeff right now. That's what I was thinking. So Jeff decides he's going to go to David's house. And he does. He arrives there probably like 9:45 that night. On arrival, Andrew beats Jeff to death with a hammer in front of David. On April 29th, one of David's coworkers is concerned that David never showed up for work. So they go to his apartment to check on him and they discover Jeff's body rolled up in a rug hidden behind a sofa. Jeff's watch had stopped at 9:55, so they're pretty sure he died very soon after he arrived at David's apartment.
With a hammer?
Yeah. I thought all of that was leading up to him gonna shoot him, but instead he used a hammer.
I mean, I thought he was going to shoot him too. Right. And then out of nowhere, a hammer joins the situation. Where is David? He can't be alive.
Where'd David go?
He can't be alive.
So, anyway, authorities believed that David remained in the apartment with Jeff for 2 days after Jeff was murdered.
Ew.
Really gross. One neighbor said that they witnessed David and Andrew in the apartment elevator on April 28th. And then another neighbor said that he saw the two of them walking David's dog on the 29th. So that they were there for at least 2 days. Investigators then treated David as a suspect in Jeff's murder because really seems like he's chill with what just happened. That's really all they have to go on. But David's family insisted that he was held hostage by Andrew. That there's no way he was, in fact, chill.
That's what the gun was for.
Maybe. To keep, Andrew compliant.
No, to keep David.
Keep David compliant. Yes. Sorry, I've got my gay men mixed up.
It happens.
I understand. So, May 2nd, so this is now several days later, David and Andrew were seen north of Minneapolis driving in David's Jeep and eating lunch together in a bar. It's really starting to seem like David's really chill with Jeff dying in front of him by hammer.
Yeah.
The following morning, David's body is found on the east shore of Rush Lake near Rush City, Minnesota, with gunshot wounds to the head and back from a .40 caliber Taurus PT-100 semi-automatic pistol, which is the gun that he stole from Jeff. Andrew stole from Jeff.
It's a cheap gun, by the way.
I wouldn't know. Apparently it works.
I'm sure it works just fine.
So, May 3rd, Andrew drives to Chicago, Illinois, and murders Lee Miglin, a 72-year-old prominent real estate developer.
Lee, no.
He bound Miglin's hands and feet and wrapped his head with duct tape, then stabbed him more than 20 times with a screwdriver, slit his throat with a hacksaw, and then stole his car.
Oh my God.
That seemed pretty personal.
Oh my God.
Wildly brutal way to die. I don't know. Anyway, that happened. Miglin's family maintains that this killing was random, that there's no way Andrew even knew Lee Miglin. But the FBI argues that it is extremely unlikely that he would do all of that with zero motive. And that makes a lot of sense to me because that's intense.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of rage, it sounds like to me. Anyway, investigators note that Miglin's 1994 green Lexus LS sedan is missing from his garage, and then they find David's red Jeep parked nearby. So that is what told them.
He swapped cars.
He stole the car, yeah. Miglin's Lexus was equipped with a car phone. And I guess the car phone records show was activated May 4th in Union County, Pennsylvania. So Andrew was on the move. Authorities began monitoring the phone's activity. They found that it was also activated May 8th in Philadelphia and then May 9th near Penns Grove and Kearney Point Township in New Jersey. So he's cruising on eastward. May 9th in Pennsville Township, New Jersey at Finns Point National Cemetery. Andrew shoots and kills 45-year-old cemetery caretaker William Reese.
What did William do?
Nothing. They're actually very sure that he literally killed him just to steal his red pickup truck.
That sucks.
I know. It's so awful. So when William Reese did not return home for dinner, his wife visited the cemetery just to check up on him, and she found that his office door was wide open and there's a radio playing inside, and she's getting vibes that something not so great happened here. So she calls the cops, and then they find William shot dead from a headshot by the exact same Taurus pistol, by the way, used to murder David. They believe that Andrew, like I said, just murdered William in order to take his 1995 red Chevy pickup.
Wow.
So Andrew uses this truck to get to Florida. May 12th, he gets a room at the Normandy Plaza Hotel in Miami Beach. He pays $29 per night in cash, which, I don't know, may have been a pricey hotel room in the
Sounds like a fucking bargain now.
Mid-90s.
$29 can't even get you a fucking meth infused motel.
So Andrew decides he's going to lay low.
Probably smart at this point.
He ends up, despite June 12th being listed on the FBI 10 most wanted fugitives list, hiding in plain sight at this plaza for 2 months.
Whoa.
With no one knowing. And he's active. He's going out clubbing and hitting up like the gay community and like entertainment district and like all that stuff.
Well, I mean, are you aware of who is on the FBI's top 10 most wanted right now?
Anyone who watches like those TV programs would notice. It's just wild to me that.
But anyone who watches those programs isn't going clubbing,
I guess,
at night.
But most of them still got found. That's what's so wild to me. Like, even though they didn't go clubbing, they still got found, a lot of them. It's just, I mean, whatever. So successfully, he evaded the authorities for 2 months. Let's see. He ends up leaving the hotel, and around 8:45 a.m., July 15th, 1997, he murders 50-year-old Gianni Versace on the front steps of his mansion in Miami Beach.
Is there a reason why?
Versace was coming home from visiting a cafe that he went to all the time, picked up a few magazines, went back to his house, and Andrew approached him from behind and shot him in the back of the head once, and then after he fell or was on his way to the ground, shot him a second time in his left cheek with the same Taurus pistol. A witness pursued Andrew, but was unable to catch him, but did report to authorities that he fled into a nearby parking garage. Police found William Reese's stolen Chevy pickup in a nearby parking garage, maybe not the same one. I guess they found Andrew's clothes and clippings, newspaper clippings of the reports of his murders inside. On July 23rd, 1997, Andrew's body is found in a luxury houseboat, just a random one, in Miami Beach, after a caretaker of, I guess, the port or pier dock or whatever it was tied up at, reported hearing the gunshot. He had shot himself in the head with the same pistol. His motivation is still completely unknown. They have no idea why he did all this. At the time of the murders, there was extensive speculation in the public and media and stuff linking the crimes to him finding out he was HIV positive. They think he just lost it, went berserk.
That was the snap?
I don't know, maybe. Time magazine, even as recent as 2018, when that TV series came out, wrote an article about him, and they mentioned that authorities believed he was driven to kill former lovers and possibly former clients he believed had given him HIV. But when his autopsy was done, they found he was HIV negative. So no idea. No clue. So they searched the houseboat where he had died. He didn't leave a suicide note. He really didn't leave a lot of personal belongings. But I guess what they did find that may have been of note, it maybe not. They found multiple tubes of hydrocortisone cream.
Okay.
And a fairly extensive collection of C.S. Lewis books, his fiction.
Like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe?
Yeah.
Why did he have hydrocortisone cream?
I don't know.
Isn't that to treat burns?
Yeah, like rashes or burns or...
Like skin irritants.
Hydrocortisone, I'm pretty sure, can be treated to used to treat diaper rash.
Why did he have a bunch of a notable amount of it?
A lot of them. I don't know.
Why?
I'm not sure. But anyway, Andrew Cunanan can be found on Wikipedia's list of serial killers in the United States, but his status as a serial killer versus a spree killer
sounds like a spree killer
has
for
been
sure.
disputed. Yeah. So people kind of go back and forth. It does seem like most of them are calling him a spree killer, though.
Yeah, there's no pattern to his killing at all.
Not really. It's so wild and chaotic. It really doesn't seem like it was planned beforehand either.
Now, if everybody got beat with a hammer or stabbed with a screwdriver with their throat slit with a hacksaw, then sure, you have a serial killer. But that was all random and just in the moment. Mm-hmm. Although I guess so was the Night Stalker.
Yeah.
A lot of his was just crazy. He shot a lot of people too, though.
I don't know, but see, when people say killing spree, it's usually I guess I haven't heard of a lot of them, but it sounds about right to me that a killing spree is inspired by a lot of rage and confusion and chaos and stuff. And I very often off the top of my head, it sounds like ends in people committing suicide or turning themselves in or something once everything's calmed down.
I wrote it down the assassination of Gianni Versace, because now I kind of want to watch it. I don't give a shit about Versace. You know, sucks that he was murdered.
Of course,
Didn't know anything about him at all.
Same.
Don't care.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how much of this show is going to be about Andrew and his misdoings.
So just based off of what I read, Gianni Versace was a gay man. He had a long-term, like, serious relationship boyfriend at the time, but what does that really mean? Like, anybody, like, open relationships are a thing and have been for a really long time. So based off of the book and based off of the fact that he went to his house and killed him after killing 4 other people, he definitely, like, almost for sure knew, except for the cemetery guy.
Yeah, poor cemetery man.
Poor William Reese. Just really seems like maybe there was some kind of history. I do also think it's still possible that he believed he had HIV and just never got checked out, maybe because he was embarrassed or upset or something like that, which might explain the hydrocortisone cream. Maybe he, I don't know, was experiencing some symptoms and I don't know what the symptoms of AIDS are, but like maybe he was getting rashes or hives or inflammation or whatever, and he just assumed he must have HIV. I have no idea. It's so wild to me. This is a really strange reaction. But that's another thing, like, he worked freelance. So he didn't have medical coverage. And if he was maxed out on all of his credit cards and didn't have anyone providing him income anymore, maybe that's why he didn't go to the doctor's office to get checked out. And just, I don't know, he was not obviously mentally unwell, but, well, yeah, actually, after all of this, yeah. At the time, though, before 5 murders, it really didn't seem like he was this crazy. I mean,
except that murderer. He was like a diagnosed sociopath.
I know, but he was so young. And then there was just no word of that for a really long time, except for like maybe the violent pornography. But people do that all the time, too. And they're not always sociopaths.
That's not necessarily like damning.
That's what I'm saying. So. Like, it sounded like a bunch of his friends thought he was fairly normal. And then this happened.